The final battle of Universe 6 and the fate of Goku, Vegeta, and Cabba has now reached its climax as the final battle against Golden Bleed now officially begins, as we pick up right where we left off. As on the previous videos, we covered Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta versus Bleed in their highest forms possible, having to reveal the birth of Golden Bleed, along with having to witness Golden Bleed versus Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta for the very first time, and now the final battle to decide the fate of Universe 6 is about to begin, with Goku's Super Saiyan God Spirit Bomb having to be their final ace in the hole to get the job done. As once more, before we begin, if you are new to this channel and have a love and passion for all things Dragon Ball and anime related, then be sure to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to never miss a single upload. And if you guys love and enjoy Dragon Ball and cannot wait to see more, then be sure to go on ahead and slap a big fat like down below by giving this video a big thumbs up, along with checking out the official Dragon Ball fan mangas playlist located down in the description box below, to where there you will be able to find all the latest and best Dragon Ball fan mangas created by the community for the community. So be sure to take a minute to go on ahead and check that playlist out located down below, as we kick off the final chapter of Beyond Dragon Ball EX manga chapter number 4, with Golden Bleed having to stare back at Goku after realizing that Super Saiyan God Goku had been constructing and formulating his own Super Saiyan God Spirit Bomb. As Bleed slowly looks towards his left in noticing this massive Spirit Bomb, Super Saiyan God Goku goes on to cry out, "Vegeta! Cabba! Get away from there now!" As only then Golden Bleed steadily focuses on Goku, Vegeta goes on to reply to Goku and telling him, I don't have enough energy. Don't worry about us. Just protect the Earth. In a very similar fashion, the way the Kid Buu battle went down and Goku having to plead with Vegeta to get up and move out of the way, Golden Bleed overhears this and further going on to ask Goku, "Are you too worried about them to do it? Fine then. If you aren't going to attack, then I will." As only then Goku braces himself, because he knows that Bleed is going to go to any lengths to make sure that Goku does not launch this Spirit Bomb. I really love the level of depth that we go into here, especially knowing the fact that Vegeta's down, Cabba's down, and the only thing left in getting in the way of further destroying Golden Bleed is God Goku's Spirit Bomb. As Golden Bleed sticks his hand out, he goes on to further tell Goku, "Coward, die!" as he unleashes a massive energy blast that hurtles towards Goku's direction. The only thing that Goku can do at this point is stare on, because he knows that right now the inevitable is about to happen. And as Goku is holding this Spirit Bomb above his head, he goes on to say to himself, "Darn it, it's not ready, but it'll have to work. It has to work." As Goku finds it within himself to understand that yes, the Spirit Bomb is not done charging, so he's going to have to launch the bomb prematurely, knowing the fact that this may or may not work. As only then Super Saiyan God Goku launches the Spirit Bomb, in which I will say the overall detail on witnessing God Goku launch the Spirit Bomb to me is absolutely incredible, because you don't come across too many fan mangas that are very detailed and sharp when it comes to their characters. So with Goku having to launch the Spirit Bomb, we only then have the Spirit Bomb just bowl right through Bleed's attack as it's heading right for him. As only then seconds later Bleed begins to clutch down, as he goes on to say to himself, "Idiot. Alright, come at me," embracing himself for this massive Spirit Bomb. As Bleed only takes it upon himself to charge right in, Cabba looks up and noticing that Bleed isn't really fearful of this, but he is taking initiative in stopping this blast himself. And as Cabba looks up, he is horrified to know that Bleed isn't really moving just to go into the blast itself and deflect it, but instead, Bleed is moving away. So, his initial plan is that Bleed wants the Spirit Bomb to land down in hitting Cabba and Vegeta directly while he moves out of the way. So, what I really find fascinating about this is the fact that once Bleed looks behind him, he goes on to further tell Cabba, "It is an end that I will accept. This is the last time that you will avoid death." And Cabba is horrified, because now, right in front of his face, he is faced off against Super Saiyan God Goku's destructive Spirit Bomb. As Bleed cunningly moves out of the way, there is seemingly nothing that anyone can do to stop this. As Cabba looks on, he goes on to say to himself, I'm done for. But then Goku quickly goes on to cry out, Cabba, listen to me. It's a huge amount of energy from your people. You have to push it towards Bleed. As Cabba replies, I can't. With God Goku pleading with Cabba and yelling at him, he goes on to tell him, you can do it! You can do it! You are the protector of this earth! As this really sinks in with Cabba, he looks behind him and noticing Vegeta on the floor. As all hope seems to be lost, Cabba goes on to say to himself, Son Goku, Master Vegeta, as all of a sudden Cabba further transforms. He transforms into a Super Saiyan 2 and gets ready to do everything in his ability to stop this Spirit Bomb from not only crashing into him, but deflecting that directly towards Bleed. And as the Spirit Bomb touches Cabba, Cabba tries everything in his ability to push this energy ball back as he goes on to try to charge up for a massive Gallic gun, but it only fails as Cabba is struggling to keep the bomb above his head. As Cabba pours more of his energy into this attack and trying to push the Spirit Bomb back even more, as Bleed is flying away, he slowly looks behind him as he notices the massive God Spirit Bomb heading towards his direction. And this is all due to Cabba firing off the Gallic gun and pushing the Spirit Bomb away. And as Bleed looks behind him, he goes on to say to himself, God, this is something on this scale, and further goes on to show signs of resistance by firing off against the Spirit Bomb back down onto the ground. So we have Cabba who's pushing up, and we have Bleed now who's pushing down, and Goku is all out of energy. There's nothing that Goku can do at this point to even further assist Cabba in doing anything to push the Spirit Bomb back. And as we see Cabba struggling and with Goku's body having to tremble, Goku goes on to say to himself, the Super Saiyan God's energy has been absorbed by the Genkidama. I'm sorry, I'm asking you to do the rest. It's all up to you now. And Cabba is struggling. There is seemingly no way that Cabba in this current form would be able to push back not only a Super Saiyan God Spirit Bomb, but also Golden Bleed having to push back down onto him as the ground around Cabba is beginning to crack, it's beginning to break. The only thing that Golden Bleed is proceeding to do as he's pushing back down is laugh, as he goes on to further tell Cabba, I'll just have to give up the Dragon Balls for now. I'll blow the entire Earth into pieces instead. So, originally his quest for the Dragon Balls has now been put on hold as his primary goal right now is to further kill Cabba, Goku, and Vegeta. And with Cabba having to struggle, he goes on to acknowledge that there's no use in having to push back as all of a sudden he hears a voice cry out, Cabba! And as Cabba turns his head, an injured Vegeta further goes on to scream at Cabba and letting him know you can't give up. You have come back from the brink of death. Your power should be much greater than what it was before. So as Cabba is trying to push this back, Vegeta further goes on to tell him, think of your comrades that were killed in cold blood. Have you forgotten them? As Cabba then begins to think back on all of his friends that have died by the hands of Bleed in cold blood, Vegeta further goes on to encourage him by letting him know, remember your anger. Remember the pride of the Saiyajin, which are the Saiyans, and further giving Cabba hope and reminding him exactly what he's fighting for. Until then, all of a sudden, Cabba unleashes all of his power in pure anger. The ground around him begins to crack. He remembers his fallen friends. Very similar to when Super Saiyan 2 Gohan had killed Cell, we see the spirits of Cabba's friends surrounding him as he begins to push back even more until all of a sudden, Cabba achieves a brand new transformation. And this transformation is Super Saiyan 3. So with Cabba having to channel all of his inner anger, all of his energy into this one attack, not only is he able to push back significantly, but for the first time, Cabba had now achieved Super Saiyan 3. And with the force itself having to be much greater than before, Golden Bleed is left shocked as only then the Spirit Bomb is now sent hurtling back towards his direction. As Golden Bleed begins to lose ground, he cries out, "What? in having to be blown completely out of the Earth's orbit, as Golden Bleed does not have the power to push the Spirit Bomb fully back. As eerily enough, very similar to what we've seen with Cooler in the original Dragon Ball Z movie, Golden Bleed gets overtaken by this massive Spirit Bomb to where he's sent hurtling deep into outer space, and you can see Super Saiyan 3 Cabba's hands begin to shake as the bomb itself is sent out into deep space. Cabba, due to exhaustion and his body having to break down on him, completely drops down onto the ground, huffing and puffing, completely out of energy, completely exhausted. We only observe then how Goku is beginning to crawl out of the crater that he was left in, as all three Saiyans now are lying on the ground, having to celebrate their victories in finally defeating Lord Bleed. As only then Goku approaches Cabba, who's laying in the crater. He then goes on to further look back at Goku and giving him the thumbs up and letting him know, "We did it! We did it, Goku-san." As Goku sticks his hand out, he goes on to further tell him, "No, you did it, Cabba. You did your best." As all three Saiyans now struggle to stand back up, all of a sudden, Goku begins to sense something deep in outer space. As they all look up, Goku then goes on to state, "But I can still sense Bleed's energy," with Cabba responding, "Yeah, I feel it too." As Vegeta also senses this, he goes on to state, "What a stubborn bastard." As we go back into deep space, we observe how Bleed had powered back down to his base, no longer being in his golden form, desperately trying to hold his blast back. So the bomb itself is causing Bleed to be sent deep into space, but due to his resistance, he's still able to somehow maintain himself from being killed. As Bleed further then goes on to comment, if it's this big, I can't avoid it." As all of a sudden, he also picks something up. As he quickly turns around, he notices the solar system sun right behind him, acknowledging the fact that this Spirit Bomb is sending him directly into the sun. As only seconds right before Bleed meets his inevitable doom, you can tell based on his own expression that this was it. This was the moment of truth for Bleed, in the fact that there was no escape and he was about to die right then and there and having to be sent hurtling into the sun. As only then finally the Spirit Bomb collides with the sun itself, there is a brief moment where Bleed goes on to say to himself, "I'm supposed to be the strongest warrior in the universe. This isn't supposed to be happening to me. That Saiyan, his energy felt similar, but I can't remember." As we go back and having a brief flashback with Bleed inside of his ship, he then begins to remember that indeed, his ship in fact did pass Cabba's, and that's where he originally had felt Cabba's energy before. As one of his own lackeys went on to tell Bleed, "Should we just shoot it down, just to be sure?" As Bleed went on to state, "No, don't fire. Set course for planet Sadala after we're done here. Sadala will be the next planet to invade after Earth. That seems like the best action in regards to our plan." As we go back to Bleed literally dying, he then goes on to acknowledge and having to state, "I remember now. It's my fault. Back then, it was him. I should have shot him down then. As his body finally disintegrates within the sun itself, Lord Bleed has now been eradicated and finally being killed within the sun. As we go back to Vegeta, Cabba, and Goku, they all further go on to acknowledge the fact that Bleed's energy has now completely disappeared. As Goku goes on to comment, "Bleed's energy has completely disappeared. He crashed into the sun, just like Cooler." As Vegeta smiles, he goes on to comment he's seen the last of his days then. As only then Cabba went on to comment, you two, just thank you so much. I don't know how I can repay you." As Goku laughs, he goes on to tell him, "Well, if it wasn't for you, we'd all be dead, right, Vegeta?" As Vegeta doesn't say a word, there is a moment of silence before Vegeta then goes on to tell Cabba, "You did okay for a rookie. Nothing more." And this really makes Cabba happy as he goes on to cry and stating, "Master!" As Goku then goes on to comment, "Anyways, Vegeta, it was helpful that we remembered the Genkidama." As Vegeta replies, "I'm not proud of having to use the energy of others. It's a shame we had to rely on others to win yet again." As Goku then turns to Cabba, he then goes on to tell him, "Well then, let's find the remaining Dragon Balls and make a wish." As Cabba then goes on to state, actually, all of the Dragon Balls are already in this capsule." But then just as Cabba says this, the Supreme Kais finally show up. As they go on to thank the Saiyans, they further go on to comment that Bleed was something else. You all are really strong warriors. As Goku further goes on to acknowledge that indeed this was a close battle, the Kaioshins further go on to express their gratitude in saying, "Truly, I cannot find the words to thank you enough." As Goku comments, "That's okay, thank you, Cabba. You really saved us back there." As Vegeta then goes on to comment, "We can talk about it later. Let's return to the Earth of Universe 7. As Goku then goes on to state, "Oh wait, right, my rice, it's going to get cold." As Vegeta goes on to state, yeah, that's right. With Cabba then having to tell them, "Oh, okay, well geez, you had me scared there for a moment." So now there looks to be a moment of comfort because everyone seems to be happy. They're trying to plan things out. Goku wants to go back to Universe 7, but then out of nowhere, one of Bleed's remaining lackeys indeed had survived. As all of the Saiyans quickly turn around, this individual pops right back up, bloody and seemingly really battered during the course of battle. He then goes on to approach Cabba's ship as he goes on to state, "I will definitely have my revenge. Until then, count your blessings and the days to my return." But Goku, Vegeta, and Cabba don't go on to say a single word because they're observing something happening right then and there as this individual is attempting to steal the Saiyan space pod. As out of nowhere, this individual just suddenly drops dead. Unbeknownst to Goku, Vegeta, and Cabba because they weren't the ones to do anything to kill this individual. So the question lingers, what happened? As Goku then goes on to ask Cabba, who was that guy? As Cabba responds, he was a member of Bleed's army as his first in command. And with Vegeta having to tell the Kaioshin to take them back to Universe 7, Cabba then goes on to tell him, "Wait, Master, wait. Please come visit us at any time possible to further train me." And as Vegeta stays quiet, he then goes on to tell him, "I will come by every now and then when I feel like it." And this makes Cabba very happy. And Vegeta in the shadows gives off a little bit of a smirk as Cabba then goes on to cry out, "Yes, I did it! Thank you, Master! Thank you!" As only then the narration goes on to further tell us, after the battle, Cabba had summoned the dragon to make a wish. He wished to summon everyone back that was killed by Bleed and his army, which of course were his friends that eerily enough resemble the counterpart of Goku, Vegeta, and Nappa from Universe 7. As of course the narration continues, with the second wish, he wished the damage caused to the Earth to be undone. Peace came to Universe 6 and its Earth once more. As only then when we go back to the lackey that was originally killed, we notice a very familiar pair of feet on the floor as this individual goes on to state, "This was supposed to be a huge deal for me." As to our surprise, we finally have Hit show up on Earth as he further goes on to comment, "This isn't Bleed, but I managed to kill one of his men. He should at least bring some kind of money. Well, at the very least." Further closing off the manga chapter as Hit was acknowledged to be the one to massacre the final remaining army member of Bleed's remaining force, as only then the Dragon Ball EX manga chapter number 4 special comes to a close. Now, I really did enjoy this entire manga from start to finish because it gave off a Cooler-esque kind of vibe, and being that this actually includes Gogeta, Super Saiyan Blue Goku, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, Super Saiyan God, the Super Saiyan God Spirit Bomb, it's fan service at its finest. However, I didn't really like the title of Lord Bleed. I felt as if it was cheap and I felt like it was a tad bit tacky because we had a Universe 6 counterpart to Cooler except made relevant within Dragon Ball Super, so that was a plus. And also, the way Bleed had avoided encountering the Spirit Bomb and allowing that to crash directly into Cabba, it was truly something remarkable to see, even though I really don't understand how Super Saiyan 3 Cabba was able to push back a Super Saiyan God Spirit Bomb with just the Gallic Gun, but to each its own, right? So this is the conclusion of Dragon Ball EX, which I do encourage you guys to join my Discord if you guys have any fan mangas of your own that you would like to share or showcase, to where that link will be located down below. So again, join my Discord, hop on in, and let's discuss and talk about some awesome Dragon Ball fan mangas. As again, I do want to give a huge shout out to a good friend of mine named Jesters over on Discord. You guys can find his Discord link located down below for Dragon Ball fan mangas, as I was originally aware of this manga chapter special, but I was a little hesitant in covering this because the creator of this manga doesn't want anyone else outside of Japan to read this or to cover this, so I thought that was kind of silly, but this was the finale, and I can't wait to see what other creators such as Young Gigi and many others within the community have in store for more awesome stories, either similar to this or different. But again, I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. I thought that the overall execution of this final chapter was a tad bit poor in a way, because it just felt rushed. Even though I think the manga chapters prior were really good, I want to get your thoughts down below as to the overall fight involving Bleed and what you expect to see in the foreseeable future. Guys, again, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to this channel and have a love and passion for all things Dragon Ball and anime related, then be sure to go on ahead and slap this video up with a big fat like, hit that subscribe button, guys, and more importantly, turn on all notifications by clicking on the little bell icon and selecting all notifications to never miss a single upload. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you all so much for your support. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, guys. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming.
Also follow UnrealEntGaming on these social media platforms to stay connected at all times. And if you don't, then very soon you will all be dead! Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god.
The fuck's up? On, put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge! What, Broly?
Frieza.
Uh-oh.
Prepare to die!